This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, John. So thank you very much again for joining us. If you want to do a short intro for yourself and then just sort of tell us what you got, that'd be great. Hello, John.
My mic.
John, we're not hearing you.
Here
At least
it
I'm not. Hello, John. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me all right, Craig?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, thanks for having me, Craig, and to coattail on what Craig was talking about. We were out at dinner, and I was 3 bourbons deep. So I whatever I said that he thought was so smart, there's no way I'm going to be able to repeat it because I was probably 3 sheets to the wind at the time. But a little background about me. I've been licensed and full time in real estate since 1992. So I've been around for a little while. I managed a couple of different offices before I came on board to manage this office here for Fathom, but I still sell. The stuff I do now is not the same stuff I did when I was a rookie. When I was a rookie, we had baby on the way, our first child on the way, and I was pounding the pavement, beating the bushes. I was on the phone at 7 in the morning, calling expired listings, and I made a lot of money working absentee owners and for sale by owners. But we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, and I had to make some money. But I don't do a whole lot of that stuff now because my business has grown to the point where most everything is done by referrals nowadays. So typically, I sell about 50 homes a year, and that is me. That is not a team. It is just me. I tell people that I'm never off and I don't sleep. If you sell 50 homes a year without a team, I promise you, you are never off and you don't sleep. It's a lot of time and effort. At this point, though, my kids are grown and gone, so I'm an empty nester. I have the time to invest. But uh, what our discussion was at dinner was about some of the things I do that continue to keep my name in front of people, keep top of mind awareness. Uh, One of the things I do is every winter I rent a basketball court, and I'll do it for the months of January, February, March, and essentially I will uh, invite clients, any guys I know that have an interest in playing basketball, clients, friends, neighbors, anybody that I know that would enjoy it. I invite them out to the gym to play pickup games. And sometimes 5 people show up, sometimes 15 people show up, and it's whoever makes a basket. The first 5 people make a basket, that's a team. And some of the guys are in their 20s, and there's guys like me in their upper 50s, and everything in between. And we yuck it up and we have a good time. And I'm a horrible basketball player. I have to take a lot of Motrin before I get on the court. I take a lot of Motrin when I get home, but it pains me. But I have a lot of fun, and I make tens and tens of thousands of dollars uh, being horrible at basketball. At the end of one basketball season, one of the young guys, or I said to all these guys that showed up, I said, hey, you the county's starting up a softball team. You guys want to get together and put together a softball team? And one of the young guys said, Mr. May, I'm sorry, I already put together a softball team. And I said, all right. And I was a little disappointed. And then he called me a couple days later. He said, hey, would Fathom sponsor my softball team? And I said, Alex, I'll tell you what, I'll sponsor your team as long as you put me on the roster. And he said, but Mr. May, we're all young. And I said, I don't care, Alex. It's all right. Just put me on the roster. And he said, oh, but we all drink beer on the sideline. I'm like, Alex, put me on the roster. I'll gladly sponsor your team. And he's like, well, we curse. I'm like, Alex, it's okay. Just put me on the roster. So I knew if I wrote these guys a check for $500 and they put Fathom on a T-shirt, it's really not going to do anything. My goal was to get in the dugout, right? I said, Alex, just put me somewhere where I'll do no harm. And I just wanted to get myself in the dugout because it's all about relationships, right? So he put me on the roster. I said, just call me if I can save a forfeit, right? If you guys don't have enough people show up, call me. I'll zip on over to the field and I'll save a forfeit. But after the first time playing, I held my own, right? So they were happy with me. They made me a regular. I sponsored that team, probably going on 10 years now. I don't play anymore. But again, I got to know 15, 20, 25 guys over the years. I add them all to my Facebook, and by being a horrible softball player, I have made tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So what I try to do and what I try to encourage my agents to do is find things you like to do, okay? But find a way to do them in a group, right? So if you're a mom, well, if you're not a member of a play group, start a play group, right? If you enjoy reading, if you're not a member of a book club, start a book club in your neighborhood. Find ways to do things that you would like to do, but do them in a group setting. So a number of years ago, my eldest son bought me a homebrew kit. It was a Mr. Beer kit. It was for my birthday or Father's Day, I don't remember, but I started making my own beer. And one day I was at a homebrew supply store, and I saw a business card that said, "Hey, there's a homebrew club that started up near me." So I joined a homebrew club, and over the years, I go to the meetings, I learn about water, yeast, all kinds of stuff about. We drink beers, we yuck it up, and I have made countless tens of thousands of dollars being a member of this homebrew club. And I'm doing stuff I like to do anyway. You know, I would encourage you guys to get involved in your community. I go to church, and I don't go to church for business. I go to church to make up for the shenanigans of my youth, right? I'm trying to get into heaven now because I'm old, right? But when I don't just go to service. I sit on the committees, I show up, I get involved, and I've met a lot of people, and I've sold a lot of houses to church members. And every time I sell a house to a church member, I write a check to the church. Now, I don't tell the member when they hire me, I'm going to make a donation to the church, right? But at every single closing, I sit down and I think to myself, who do I need to thank for this deal, right? Basically, I believe I make my living off of other people's kindness. Whether they are hiring me, they're being kind for thinking of me, or whether they're referring me business, they're being kind for passing my name along. So I sit down and I think to myself, who do I need to thank for this business? And quite frankly, I write checks. So, depending on the size of my commission check, if I make $10,000, I'll write anywhere $250, $500 check to my church, and just write them a card saying, hey, this is a donation based on such and such as house sale. And again, I don't tell the person I'm doing that. It's nothing I advertise, but I promise you, my church comptroller gives out my name, right? My church comptroller knows this, and my name gets passed around because of that. I do the same thing with Homebrew Club, right? If I make a sale from Homebrew Club, I will donate $250 to my Homebrew Club. And again, I don't announce it at a meeting or anything like that. I give it to the accountant or at that time, and I promise you, they pass my name along just because of that. So recently, it seems like I have what I call infiltrated groups, not necessarily intentionally, but here in my little town of Smithfield, Virginia, there is a women's club. And this women's club approached me and said, hey, would you buy our cookbooks and give them out to all of the people give them out as gifts to the people you sell homes to? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that, but I'll tell you what, I will print out a list of all the closings in this particular neighborhood that I was farming. And I will give you the list of all the new neighbors that just moved into this neighborhood. And I will buy a book for each of them, but you deliver it. I don't want to be the person that knocks on the door and says, hi, I'm John, here's a cookbook. I said, but this way I'll be supporting the women's club, and somebody from the women's club is knocking on these people's doors, giving them a women's club cookbook, and they've come up with a little note that said it's, given to you by John May. But I can't say I made money off of the cookbook, but women's club, the women's club knows I do this. This year alone, I sold 3 houses for members of the Smithfield Women's Club, and one was 400, one was 600. I can't remember the price of the third, but no, another was like 425. I sold like $1.4 million worth of real estate this calendar year, 2023, to members of the women's club. And like I said, I'm not buying ads. I'm buying their books to kind of support them. Same thing happened recently with the a local Roriton club. In our area, there's a lot of farms. So we have what's called Roriton clubs. It's kind of like the Rotary for farmers. And every year they have a couple of fish fries. And I would just buy a block of tickets. I'd give those tickets away on Facebook, saying, "Hey, I got a whole handful of tickets. Who wants some?" And then I would promote their fish fry on my Facebook page, and I would post it on other pages for them. And then I would go there and enjoy fish and hang out with everybody. I didn't even realize that they were promoting me as a sponsor of the event, just because I bought a handful of tickets. And this year so far, I've sold 1 house to a member of the the Roriton Club, and I'm about to list a house next month for a member of the Roriton Club. It's kind of just trying to help them out. And I guess I believe that if you just put good stuff out there in the universe with no expectation of return, somehow or another it comes back to you. I'm also a member, in fact, the current president of the Lions Club. My wife got me involved in the Lions Club a number of years ago, and they were the very first people that diagnosed me with my hearing loss. Probably saved my marriage by encouraging me to get some hearing aids. But in any event, I'm currently the president of the Lions Club. Once again, it is a service organization, and what I do is, so they give lots of opportunities for me to get involved and do some nice things in the community. And what I do is I just show up, right? They're providing and the opportunities. I just show up. And again, in all of these instances, I never talk real estate, right? I am there to be involved and volunteer. But people know that I'm a real estate agent, and I guess what I continue to preach to my agents is people want to do business with people they know and like. So get to know a lot of people. Don't be a dick. Just kind of get out there and be a nice person, and eventually that will come back to you. So how's that, Craig? Did I touch base on everything?
I believe so. I don't remember if there was anything else you had talked about at the restaurant. Like you said, you were in a little bit different state of mind than you are now. Yeah. So, I mean, there were some great things. I heard a lot of just being out there helping people without any real expectation, but you still get a good return on that. I heard a lot of getting involved. I mean, I really like the story about the softball team. You could have just written them a check for $500 and gotten, your name stuck on a T-shirt, but instead, you got involved with the team and got to know them, and that really, I think helped you more than just writing a check would have. Anyone got any questions or anything you've done similarly that may not have gone as well, and just wondering what the differences were, or some similar things you did that may have worked that you'd like to bring up? We'd love to hear some other folks bring some stuff up before you bring on our other 2 speakers.
Craig,
One of
before
my
we get
agents
started,
approached me recently. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going
Go
to say,
ahead.
before you get started, I think I heard that you do 50 sales a year by yourself without a team. Did I hear that? Okay, I'd like to know how you do that whenever
I'm
you get a
telling you,
chance.
everything I just said is how
I
I
mean,
do it.
not how you do it, but the administrative the follow-up, the administrative piece?
Yeah. So I work all the time I'm at work. I'm a huge believer in time blocking. I start my day at 5 a.m. Okay. I wake up, I come down, and I'm on my computer at first of all, as you get older, it's real hard to come up. It's real hard to fall asleep, and it's real hard to stay asleep, right? So I get maybe 6 hours sleep at night, and I think it's just because I'm an old person now, and that's just how it is. So, I am at my computer at 5 a.m. I think I get more work done between the hours of 5 and 8 than most people get done all day. I don't have interruptions, and let me step back and say this. I'm an empty nester now, right? My kids are grown and gone. So I know you got little kids. It's a whole different story. I'm all about time blocking, and if you've got a family, it's all about your priorities, right? You want to make sure you are time blocking. You want to make sure you are time blocking family time in your calendar, right? So for me, I'm doing all of my district director reading everybody's contracts and approving everybody's paperwork. I'm doing that with my coffee, 5 o'clock. I won't send text obviously 5 a.m., but I'll write a whole bunch of emails at 5 a.m. to follow up on all my different contracts. And then, when most people are starting their day, I've been in sales management for years, right? And the thing I see from a sales manager perspective, it's a lot like parenting. As managers, we see your agents' potential, right? We see more potential in you than you guys see in yourselves. And we're like, so like I said, I will start my day early in the morning. 9 o'clock rolls around. Most people, I've seen people, when I was working for another company, people are rolling in the office at 11 o'clock, they're rolling out at 3 o'clock, and then they're like, yeah, I'm not making any money. I'm like, yeah, well, you just rolled in at 11 o'clock, you rolled out at 3 o'clock. So I'm just a big believer of I work all the time I'm at work, right? And it's kind of a novel idea. The working from the house helps me. I don't have the chit chat around the water cooler as interruptions. But another thing I do is time block, right? I will let, if I'm working on a project, trying to get something done, I will let my calls roll into voicemail, and I kind of work my agenda the way a doctor would work their agenda, right? I will batch return my phone calls between 11 and 12 in the morning, and then again at 4 and 5 in the afternoon, right? Incoming phone calls are often an interruption. If you're trying to get some serious work done, you get sidetracked, and then you get sidetracked again. So I try to put my head down and get some good solid work done, whether it's marketing or prospecting or some of the administrative stuff. So, and my wife is a goddess. My wife tolerates me and puts up with the fact that I will put business first. But over the 30 some odd years that we've been married, I've been doing this full time. She has grown to adapt. So I'm very grateful for that. Did that answer your question okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, John, someone asked what sort of phone system do you use? You just have a regular phone, or do you have Google Voice or something like that? Or
So no, I just have a regular phone, and I have a one of those text messages that you can send back. So when my phone rings, I send a text message, and that text message says, I'm sorry that I can't pick up right now, but I'm probably sitting at somebody's kitchen table or at my own kitchen table and trying to give somebody my undivided attention. And I will return your call and give you my undivided attention at some point. So something I'm paraphrasing, but it's something along those lines. It's letting somebody know I'm getting your call, but right now giving somebody else my undivided attention. I promise I will give you my undivided attention when time comes.
Yeah, that's good. Um, okay, well, why don't we move on? So I don't think Jenny has made it back yet. So let's go on. Torian, that's a tough act to follow, but if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, if you want to turn on your camera, that's great. But otherwise, that's okay. And just talk a little bit about what you do to keep your sphere of influence and generate business and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say ditto, and and open it up for questions. I think John pretty much touched on all of the key things that need to be done to be able to do this. Obviously, I'm joking. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Uh, so I'm Torian Peaks, and I have been with Fathom a while. I have gotten on Craig's nerves probably the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. As a matter of fact, Craig will tell you, I start every call with, what did I do wrong? What's wrong, Craig? Anytime I get a Craig from call, I'm a little nervous. I think he had a few bourbons when he called me and asked me to if I'd be willing to speak today. But Torian Peaks, I've been with Fathom a while. I've been in the business not quite as long as John. I've been in the business 15 years. All of that time was not full time. 7 years I've been doing this full time, and I cover obviously North Carolina under Craig. I do Wake County, Durham, Johnston, Orange, and Alamance, but I've spread out a little bit this year just because of the nature of the market. So I'm also covering Greensboro, Charlotte, and Rocky Mount in the Wilson area. And John hit on a lot of good things. So, I'm going to try to maybe, give a slightly different angle, right? To be able to provide some value from my standpoint of some of the things that I do. Me personally, I'm not a salesy person. And I think that was one of the underlying things what John said. He's basically a resource and doing things not necessarily for the return, but he's doing it, essentially to be a resource. I'm similar, right? I like marketing. I like connecting with people, but I don't like selling, right? I don't want to be a salesperson. It's not what I do. I'm more of a, I look at what I'm doing as more of being a problem solver. Somebody comes to me. I've had so many people, countless people come to me and say, hey, I can't buy a home right now because the rates are high, right? So, doing what I can to offer value there, looking at their options, being able to look at their DTI, look at their situation and say, well, here's some things that you can do to be able to get, to get into a home. Somebody, may reach out and say, I'm trying to sell a home, but I can't because it's dated and, houses in my neighborhood just aren't moving. I take the approach of saying, all right, well, like anybody, right? We can all do a CMA and be able to tell them, approximate value. But I also try to take it a step further and say, all right, well, here are the changes that you can make to the house. Here are some vendors that you can do it, and maybe even some ways to be able to finance what you're doing to be able to get that, the home sold. Big part of what we're talking about today, though, is kind of what you're doing to nurture your sphere of influence. But I wanted to go with that piece just because I think not being salesy, that helps out with it, right? Because I've done Zillow leads, I've done realtor.com, I've done, sold.com, I've done Facebook ads. Is that somebody mute?
Yeah, I muted her. Go ahead.
Okay. I've done the different ads and so forth, and I'm not going to lie, they are effective, and I think they, could be helpful as part of your, the business that you're doing. Also, just to give perspective on what I'm doing, I guess my background and whether or not I have a team. So I generally do right now, somewhere between 30 and 50 houses a year. I do have a small team. That's not necessarily counting my team. My team is, to be honest with you, family and friends that are in the business, and a few agents that have sold a few houses. So, but I do have a transaction coordinator that helps me to be able to stay organized and be able to do what I do. I'm not an empty nester yet. My kids are 5 and 10, so I'm still, in the throes of playing Uber and getting the kids to their million activities and things like that. So having that transaction coordinator is invaluable for me to be able to stay organized and be able to pass off some of the things that I don't necessarily, what's the word I want to use? That I don't necessarily, it's not the best use of my time, right? I'd rather be at my son's basketball game, as opposed to, working through paperwork and, certain things. So that's a little bit of background about me before I go into, I guess, some of the things that I do with my sphere of influence or my network to, to help propel me, business wise. So one of the things I say, I think the key for me, and I'm sure John will agree, is having a database. I think if you're in this business and you don't have a database, it's very, very difficult for you to stay organized. You know what I mean? Phone contact wise, we're all in real estate, right? We probably have thousands of people on our phone, thousands of emails and so forth, and thousands of, people we've connected with a network with that are in, just over the course of our lives and so forth. And so I'm big on, having a database, and not only having a database, actually using the database, right? To be, somewhat organized in how you're dealing with people. I think to John's point, I think it's key to connect with the folks that are in your database, that are in your sphere of influence, that are in your network. But it can't always be about real estate, right? Like you have to connect with them on a very real level. And I'll talk about a little bit about some of the things that I do. But when it comes to the database, I do think it's important to organize your database in a certain way. And I'm not sure if any of you guys do this, but I try to organize my database in a few different ways. Like I feel like there are certain people that kind of fit in certain boxes when it comes to who would be willing to refer you. And 90% of my business, honestly, is by referral. 90% of my business, I don't do a lot of marketing from a social media standpoint. I'm not great. I don't have the flashy page that looks beautiful, and I'm getting a ton of business from my social media marketing. A lot of the business I get is just from the intentional contact I'm making with people, and them remembering me as their agent of choice. And the business comes in that way. Now I'm very intentional the way I do it, but it's I try not to do it in a way that it's salesy. It's truly me connecting with people, and these people that I'm helping, they generally become friends, and some of them become family over the course of this time. But in my database, I feel like there's three different types of people, right? So there are people that will love you as a realtor, and they'll work with you, every time they buy a home, right? But they're not referrers, right? They're not people that, when the thought of real estate comes up at work, they go immediately, you know what, Craig's a realtor, Torian's a realtor, let me refer that person. They might give advice, they might do that sort of thing. They're just not somebody that, for whatever reason, likes to refer folks out. Then there's other people that, if you ask them for referrals, they would do it, but it's just not their natural inclination to do so. And then there's that third group that, I feel like you have to really, really prioritize and connect with. And that's the people that, and I'm sure you've had folks like this that almost make it their life's mission to promote you, right? They appreciated the service that you provided to them, or they appreciate the relationship, and they're just good referrers, right? If they deal with you on any level, right? They meet you in a men's group, or they meet you in a women's group at church. They're just a good, that's their thing. They like to refer. I feel like, or at least from my standpoint, I try to spend a good amount of time with these folks, because at the end of the day, you want to show them your appreciation. So anytime I get a referral, anything like that, whether it closes or not, somebody can send me a referral and the person could have a 250 credit score. I don't even know if that's possible. And they might make, $4.50 an hour and can't buy a home in this market. One of the things that I try to do is I try to get a handwritten card out to them and a small gift, not anything that's going to break the bank, because I want to encourage the act of giving a referral, not necessarily the result. I don't want to say, all right, I closed the deal off of this, so now let me get you a gift. That's predictable. I want them to understand that, them sending me a referral meant a lot to me. So every single time I get one of those, I literally have a day of the week where I sit down and I write handwritten notes. Like John said, time block time. I block off a time. I'm in my office. I sit down, and I'm not eloquent. I'm not, I don't have pretty handwriting, but they're going to get that handwritten note because I think it means something, and I want to show my appreciation for that. In addition to that, I think it's important, right? And I think it's one of the small things that I think we all know to do, but and all the things that we're doing as a realtor and that sort of thing, it's easy to drop the ball on this. But I think acknowledge their milestones, right? Acknowledge their birthdays, their kids' birthdays, their anniversaries. If their home anniversaries, I think that's a key one. But even their wedding anniversaries, sometimes that's really important to folks. The passing of a loved one, right? You know what I mean? This is a relationship business, and it's not, I want my clients to understand, or I want my network to understand that I don't just care about them, getting them to the closing table, but I care about them, every element, every aspect of their life. And I think that's critical. I'll give you a quick example, a quick story. And it's sad. One of my clients, really, really good guy, his daughter passed away, in the past few weeks. And as part of that, right, my wife and I, we sent them, some flowers, and we sent them a small, kind of a small item to, to acknowledge the death and so forth, an item to go in his home. And, we also called them, my wife and I called them on the phone because, I involve my wife with a lot of what I do. And, it was almost awkward because, we talked and so forth, and, expressed our condolences, had the conversation and so forth. And, as we're going through all of that, I'm 100% not intending for it to be any sort of a real estate conversation. And, he starts turning into, a real, oh, I have somebody that is looking, let me get through all of this. And I want to, and it's not, and no part of me at all went into that call thinking about real estate or referral or that sort of thing, but just part of the relationship, right? Even though he sees me as he'll call me a friend or he'll call me this, he sees me as a realtor, right? And that's part of the process. Another thing I do, and Craig, let me know if I'm, going long on time, or, just because I'm just kind of rolling and rambling a little bit.
No, you're good. I do remember when we talked on the phone, you told me about a system that you use. I forgot what it was called to keep in touch with folks. So you might want to touch on that if you can remember what that was.
Yep, absolutely. So the other piece, my close clients. So you're talking about a system called HomeBot. So HomeBot is, is basically, you guys may do, may send newsletters, things like that. HomeBot is a pretty cool tool. Anybody that closes, I put them in there, and it essentially gives them their home value. It gives them how much equity they have. If they wanted to do an Airbnb, is it time for them to remove PMI, that sort of thing. It touches them once a month. It's relatively inexpensive. It's $25. And what's cool about it is it's just a way to touch them, give them some relevant real estate information without it being in their face, right? It's passive. It's something that hits their email box. They can click on it and they can explore different elements within there. So each month when this goes out, it goes out in an automated fashion. I don't have to do anything. The only thing I have to do is get them in the system and set them up. Once I get them out there, each month, literally my clients, not all of them, right? I might get 10 to 12 people a month that'll reach out, and they may say something to the effect of, they may dispute their home value, or, hey, how's my neighborhood doing? Or I got a question about this, or I got a question about that. But all it's doing is keeping me in front of them, and it's creating a conversation point, that folks love. Now, I'll be honest with you, right? HomeBot, from a value standpoint, it's called HomeBot AI. Okay. But from a value standpoint, it's probably as good and accurate as Zillow, right? And we love our estimates, right? But because what it's doing on a month-to-month basis, you're putting a starting value in there. You might use the appraisal, you might use the purchase price, once you load them into the system. But month to month, based on how the market is doing, it's calculating how much their home is worth at that point. And it's very, this company, I believe, is based out of California. They have an algorithm on how they're doing this, but it's not necessarily going to be 1,000% accurate, but it's a good enough of a conversation point to be able to talk with your client. And then you can pull comps, you can have a conversation with them every month without fail. I'm having a conversation with 10 to 15 people from this system that have questions about their neighborhood, telling me their plans, reassuring me, hey, I'm not ready yet, but in a year or two, we're going to go look, and you're going to be my agent, right? And then, we're having those sort of conversations. So $25 a month, it's an easy, passive way to stay in contact with my clients from a real estate perspective. And my clients seem to love it. Okay. I was gonna say, any questions on HomeBot before I move on?
There's one asking us $25 a month, period, not per client, right?
Great question. 25 per month, period.
Yeah, that's very affordable. I mean, that's nothing.
It is. Yeah. And there may be others out there that do something similar. To be frank, I came across it because one of my clients called me up and said, hey, have you limit on clients to input? To be honest, that's a great question. I'm not 100% sure, but I've closed at least a few hundred homes in my career, and everybody's in there. Anybody that's closed with me is in there. To be honest with you, I have people in there that if I meet you and I do a CMA, I'm adding you to the system. HomeBot, yeah, HomeBot AI. It's a pink logo. The support from that company is pretty good. If you need them, I mean, you can get them on the phone. I haven't had many issues with them. Once I get people set up and rolling, it goes. When I first did the system, there was a way to be able to input people on a mass scale, right? So if you have, hundreds of closings you need to add in there, you can put a spreadsheet in. You can load them through a tool that'll allow you to add multiple people at one time. Doesn't have to be one off. But I am adding people as I close them out, though, or as I'm meeting them. I'm adding them to the system.
Okay, so
Miguel
Miguel
just added
some information.
It's free.
It's actually
Anybody after that, 25 a month. Thanks,
right.
Miguel.
Yeah, so that's great. Any questions? Any other questions for Torian? Because I know Jenny made it back on the call, so we're going to have her come on. But anything else for Torian? Torian, you were talking about the different categories of folks as far as referrals. I don't know if you got that from Brian Buffini or not, but that's one of the things that he teaches as far as, I think he had A, B, and C, or maybe did by numbers. I don't recall, but that's a very similar concept, and that's a good way to group them, because obviously the folks that are very unlikely to give you referrals, you don't want to be bugging them on the phone all the time, whereas you do want to be on the phone with the folks that you're more likely to get referrals.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you a lot, Torian. Really appreciate it. Once again, Torian is local. He's one of the RDU West agents, and John is from the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area, and he does accept referrals. So if you have someone looking over there, you feel free to send someone over to him. He'll take great care of them. Jenny Blanton is now going to speak. Jenny's in RDU Central. Jenny, if you want to go ahead and unmute and just make sure we're able to hear you, that'd be great.
Hi, how's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Thanks a lot. Go ahead.
Awesome. Hey, so I'm Jenny Blanton. I service the Raleigh area. Some of my work is down in Sanford. I do a lot of work actually in Sanford. One of the things I do really well is in the luxury market, and Craig asked me to speak on the luxury market. And over the past few years, because of the pandemic, the criteria for the luxury market has gone up. I think originally it was at 500,000 and above, and now I think we're at 700 or 800,000 and above. And the luxury market, how I got into it, believe it or not, I was doing open houses, and the builder so one of the previous firms that I had worked for had done a collaboration with one of the area, and they're not. I guess the point being is I was doing an open house and they were so impressed with my open houses and the amount of folks that were coming to the open houses that they asked me to actually be their agent of choice. And from there, I continued to be their agent of choice. And then the relationships that I gathered from the open house, whether it was meeting people in that price point, I continued to get additional buyer clients that way. So it's just been an interesting time. And the way, it's very similar, like the other agents that for Mastermind that have spoken. The amount of attention that you give your clients is just as important in the luxury market as it is in any other market. The expectation at this price point is they expect you to know everything up front. So when you're walking and showing them a property, they expect you to know price per square foot. They expect you to know any particular issues of the home. They expect you to know what the neighborhood is doing. One of the things I do really well is I stay within certain neighborhoods that, for example, McGregor Downs. I stay within that neighborhood. I know that neighborhood like it's the back of my hand. I know what tear down lots look like. I know how much the tear down lots are going for. I know what the houses are going as far as custom builds are concerned, the different builders in the neighborhood. So when you talk about the luxury market, there's a little bit of technical prowess or understanding that you would need to have, but it's not to intimidate. It's just when you're dealing with luxury clients, there's an expectation of knowledge. But getting started is really easy. It kind of, by the luck, it fell into my lap, and then I took a hold of it and didn't let go, and I kept going. And my expectation is I'll just continue to feed that relationship. And I have about 12 different luxury clients, one of them being a builder. I have a designer client, and then I have a lot of out-of-state clients, and I've been able to maintain those relationships, and they've actually formulated, like the others have spoken, into personal relationships, which is so great. We have drinks together, we share Christmas cards. It's just maintaining those relationships, because then when you build that trust in that relationship, they want to introduce you to their families and the people that they know. And in the luxury market, it's all about trust. Because obviously with those type of numbers, they want to be able to trust the realtor that they use to be able to make sure that, hey, whatever they're buying, you have their best interest at hand, just like with any other client that you have. Do you guys have any questions?
So Jenny, I believe you said you really sort of got started by doing open houses for a builder in that price point, and that just sort of what got you going. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's one of those things where it's just taking the chance, because I do this where if, like, for example, right now I am teaming up with another agent in the luxury price point, and she works for a different firm, believe it or not. And I am not afraid to say, hey, can I do an open house for the builder? And she, because she's not able to move or sell the property based on what she traditionally is comfortable with, She's actually open to considering Fathom doing an open house for a different firm. I won't say who it is, Keller Williams, but the point being is it's crazy that we're able to team up with outside firms and it's not stepping on toes. It's an open house. So if they're willing to allow you to host, or the builder is willing to allow you to host an open house, there's nothing wrong with asking. What's the worst thing they can say is no? You know what I mean? They can just say no. That's okay. So believe it or not, I'm doing it again. So it's not to poach the builder, it's to get luxury clients. And so teaming up with the agent who's in charge of the actual luxury neighborhood, I am pitching her and saying, hey, I can bring a different marketing style than you can. So there's things that I use. So there's a lot of, especially when you have to be cost considerate of your time and your money because you're the agent having to invest in these type of open houses. You can use Eventbrite. You can use Facebook events. They link up. There's a lot of free tools out there that cost very little, that can get and stimulate the community around it, around the neighborhood or around the area to participate. You also have to be cognizant of what's going on. So if it's a holiday weekend, you may not get as many people, so you have to pick and choose the dates you choose. You know, you do an open house. But I bring a different type of marketing style that most of these agents probably didn't consider. And so sometimes they'll allow you to do one open house, sometimes they'll allow you to do multiple ones. But it's just something that I do differently. It's funny, but she's going to allow me to do it because right now the market has shifted a little bit, and so the more exposure they can get, the more open they're willing to do it. So it doesn't hurt to ask.
Okay, great. So Lana Pierce asked a question, then Angela Hanks has her hand up, so we're going to get to Angela after Lana. So Lana was just asking, what about your open house was so impressive? Or was it just that you were there? I mean, is there something that you do that might be different than other agents?
So
Jenny, we're not. Oh, go ahead.
with my open houses, especially in the luxury market, I don't know if you guys can hear me. The difference is it's more than just baking cookies. So besides online marketing, I am a part or participate in, I think now I have 25 or 26 different Facebook pages or groups that I'm in. So I went through and I scoured Facebook page to participate in every single luxury group, and I joined. If you're a realtor, you can join. You can get into those exclusive groups saying that you're a luxury realtor. The other thing is there's a couple of different websites that I did to advertise. Instagram, you use all the social media platforms. You do the eBrite. That was one of the things the other agents didn't think about doing, was establishing an Eventbrite for the actual open house. And then the actual open house itself is I actually invested in it myself. So one of the things I did is a little bit of fresh flowers. I did balloons. I did a couple of days ahead of time, I actually went out, HOA specific. You have to be cognizant of that, but you could put your open house signs out on a Thursday rather than a Friday or the day of. We did that. The other thing was the type of spread that you have for a luxury open house may be more, what do they call those boards? I don't get them right. The meat and cheese boards. The
Charcuterie
what is it called?
Yeah.
Charcuterie boards.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So very pretty, very very pretty spreads of food and drinks. So when they walk in, they're impressed. And so it gets out in the neighborhood that you're doing those type of things. Sometimes you can do what we call a pre-neighborhood preview. So the day before a weekend open house, one of the things we did was neighborhood only invite. So just the neighbors could come and view the property, which is slightly different than what you would normally do. And that's obviously depends on the neighborhood. If you are on a one-off house that's custom on a street by itself, you can't pull something like that off. But that particular builder, what I did was I did these massive spreads with these beautiful boards of meat and cheese and really played it up with beautiful flowers. And then we had tangible items for the visitors to take away. So we made sure that their brochures, they had, the MLS spreadsheet, they had the disclosures, they had these pretty little front, just like you would do with a report. So we made sure they had these tangible little gift bags that we got from Dollar Store, that literally in a little gift bag, they had these things in there with our business cards and some candy, excuse me, and they walked away feeling good. So every time they walked in and out, they had something to walk away with. The goal was to always make sure that their visit was memorable. And it was so impressive by the builder that he was kind of like, I've never had a realtor spend this much time and effort into doing an open house. And if you do this much, I can't imagine what you do for a listing. I can't imagine what you would do for a client. So it was that set the tone for the relationship. And it's been that way for years. So anything the builder wants, I make sure he has. So it's just, and that's how I convey it to all of my clients.
Great. Angela, do you want to go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, thanks so much, Jenny. Lena's question was a part of my question, but I'm also tapping into the rural luxury market. So
Mhm.
where so luxury but more rural, so land, larger
Right,
homes, just the comfort of that lifestyle. And
right.
obviously in the rural settings, you're generally not in a neighborhood where there are tons of other people. So you're sitting on
Mhm.
5 to 10 acres of land. With your
Mhm.
Eventbrite, um, are you inviting other luxury clients that are in the market? How are you doing that? Are you farming neighborhoods? How are you kind of getting the word out, especially when you're
So
marketing
there,
a luxury home that's not in a community?
sure. So, excuse me. So there's a couple ways to do that. So, and I can send the link. Um, Obviously, Eventbrite's great when you're doing an open house. The other thing is those the Facebook groups that I told you about. There's a lot of luxury investors and out of state type of folks that are looking at those groups. So and I could send you a list. I have like 26 different luxury group investor type of folks that are always watching. And there's a website that you can actually, it's a membership. I think there's a portion of it that is free still, but it might not be. So don't quote me on that. But you can advertise your land there as well. So you could post it there. The big thing is constant. So you've got to be consistent. And because social media is one of the key aspects of getting your information out there, it's consistency. So you have to constantly, and I do a poor job. I actually cannot stand social media, but it's just part of what we do. So consistency is really important, and then paying attention to the changes. YouTube's great. Teaming up with other agents in the luxury market is really important. When it comes to rural, for example, I think there was one other agent. I'm not sure if he's on here today, but Jeremy had a semi-rural in Holly Springs, believe it or not. It was kind of a one-off by itself custom home in the $2+ million. It was not in a neighborhood. And the challenge was it was custom. And then it was kind of by itself on a very busy road. And so we had to do a lot of crafty advertising to get the attention that it needed. One aspect of it, you can always host an agent or a broker open house, or you could do a broker evite. There's another thing that we do is called zip flyer. So an e-flyer, so you can send it out to everybody that's on any MLS. It even does out of state, but you got to be careful on how you word things. Every MLS is different. But you could do a zip your flyer. It's called zip your flyer, I think. E-flyer, so it sends out a notification. I have a laundry list, and it's not a laundry list, but I can send you a list of all the things I do for marketing. And you can kind of go off of that. And it's scalable based on your budget, because everything that we do, obviously, you have to pay a little bit in order to get it out there. Eventbrite is free for the most part. Facebook is free for the most part. But there's some ones that come at a cost, so I can send those to you. If you
Thank you,
shoot
Jenny.
me
Well,
Yeah,
Jenny,
if you shoot me your email.
Jenny, if you want
Sure.
to, if you know how to upload files into the Facebook group, you could put it there, or you can send it to me, and
Oh, I
I
can do
will put
that.
it in
Yeah.
there. That'd be easier than trying to send it to each person individually.
Okay, I'll do this easy. Yeah, let me do that, Craig. I'll send it to you. I'll send
Okay,
it to
yeah,
Greg, and then Craig can send it out.
yeah, you've got me
But
email
it gives
address.
you
So
kind
there
of a
was,
market tool of all the things that I do. And that way you guys have it. Yeah.
that'd be great. There was another question, basically just asking what do you do when another agent comes to your open house and they've got a client with them, I guess. I mean, that's generally, you just let them go through the house, but anything in particular you do there might be
Sure.
different.
Mhm. So it's no, not really. I greet them and I give them the information. I talk to the agent. So when they introduce themselves and they say that they're the agent, I definitely go up to them and I speak to them quietly and quickly and just give them the information I give everybody else and say, have at it, anything that I can do to help them. And then just move on. I let them do their thing for the most part, but I definitely want to make sure that they're given the same information I give everybody else. And then allow them to be able to do their pitch for sure.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Well, so John and Torian are still on the call, so if you have a question for them that y'all may have not thought about, that's fair game too now. Okay, well, folks, really appreciate y'all joining in. It's great attendance here.
Thank you so much.
We'll make this available, the recording available in the event if you want to go back and watch it again, just to pick out some things you might have missed. Otherwise, once again, appreciate everyone for joining, and y'all all have a great afternoon.
Greg, thanks again for
Thank
having me.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. Thank you, Torian, and thank you, Jenny. Have a great day.
You bet. We'll see you.